second in the La Liga, semi-final of the Champions League, and runners-up in the Copa del Rey. We were so close to one of 3 trophies in our 6 months at Atletico Madrid. However, we've only been given £6 million in the transfer budget, and there's a job that has just appeared at Liverpool. They only lost the Premier League to City on goal difference, and it's probably really rare that this job ever really appears. So I've decided to go ahead and apply for it. And I just hope that Atletico don't fire me for doing so. And for those of you wondering where Jurgen Klopp has gone, he is now the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Back to our job though, and I accept a £24 million bid for Thilo Kehrer. And oh my god, an interview. Right, well the first few questions, and it's all about my past, which I basically lie and just say I've got a proven track record and prefer to stay at the job for long periods of time, which we all know is complete fiction. Backroom staff changes, which I'm happy to just keep as it is, and that's fine. But then there's this. Transfer budget of over £130 million. Yeah mate, that's fine, thanks. Keep composed though and see off the rest of the interview. 130 million when we were literally only given 6. And now we wait. While Kehrer rejects Leeds and keeps our transfer budget low. Cheers, lad. But unfortunately, Liverpool have rejected us, and they went with Alfred Schroeder, who sounds familiar, right? Yeah, he's the guy who replaced us at Borussia Dortmund. He won the DFB Pokal and then left. Unbelievable. We focus on Atletico then, and we just lost centre-back Felipe, whose contract ran out. So I've decided to go with the experience and target Coates with what little budget I can manoeuvre. The offer was accepted, and it's just the contract. Low wage, but just too short for my liking, so we add an optional extension. Action-packed start here, as we also have takeover rumours. Coates signs, and I love what we've brought in here. He is a real leader, and he's incredible at the back. And what he lacks in pace, he makes up for much more by being dangerous from set pieces. A great signing. We are picking up some really annoying injuries too during training. 4 players who are going to miss the first game of the season, and maybe longer, and 3 of them are starting 11 players. Speaking of the first game, we head to Bilbao. And of course, the first game for our striker, Beto, who of course we signed last year and we couldn't use, and you know the story. And it only took him 4 minutes to score his first goal for the club. Bilbao came back with fire though and equalised shortly after. And then they went and took the lead. An unexpected equaliser came when Dedic fired in goal of the season contender on game week 1. And the winner came in the 85th minute when Rodrigo de Paul beat the offside trap and slotted it in the near post. Beto followed up with another goal and a 2-0 win against Betis, where Koke scored a rocket for a second. Champions League time, and despite us finishing in second place, we are the 3rd seed club, which makes our draw much more difficult. Eventually, after all the groups had 2 teams drawn, one team became more and more standout, and then it happened. We joined Group H with Borussia Dortmund, our former employers. I mean, that group could have been harder, but I'm happy. Although Roma did win Serie A last season by 7 points. Back to the league, and returning Coria came off the bench to clinch a winner in the 92nd minute against Valencia. We hosted my former club Dortmund first, and Luis Suarez opened the scoring in 1 minute. Thankfully, Cunha equalised not too long after. Second half, and Beto hit the bar, but Cunha was there to tap in a second. And clearly, the bond I have with these Dortmund players is strong, because Zabarnyi winked at me and he scored an own goal, 3-1. And we actually had a fantastic September, winning all but one of the games, unfortunately dropping 2 points to Osasuna. Speaking of points, it is the last opportunity to join the Community Fantasy Football League before the season starts on Spitch. Yes, we have a community league, and I'd love for you to join us, and it is free to play. There's 2 links at the top of the description. The first one is to sign up for Spitch. The second one just underneath it is what you press once you've already signed up to join the community league. The point system is far more advanced than any other fantasy football game, I think, but the main reason I love Spitch is because of the unlimited transfers, meaning that you can field a brand new 11 every single week if you wish. Now, you do have to be from the UK or Austria or Germany, and you do have to be 18 years of age or over and have your identification ready to verify your account. But it is super easy to join if you wish, and you can actually win some prize money too without actually putting in a penny. Not to mention, there is brand new season mode, and if you do take part throughout the season, your top 5 lineups will be put together and you get a chance of winning £50,000 from the prize pool if you put in £5. If you do want to enter for free, then you can do that. The prize pool will be a lot less though. Again, the links are at the top of the description to first off, join Spitch is the first one. The second one takes you straight to my community league and you press join, free play I think it is, and it will put you down in there once you selected your team for that next game week. Make sure you do it because we'll have a lot of fun on Spitch. Even my dad's involved. There was 100 people in there in last season, so make sure you join it and take part. Back to Glory Hunter, we are currently sat in second position only because Barcelona have a perfect record so far, and we play them very, very soon. Going into that game, we defeated Trabzonspor 5-1, but we drew 0-0 to Eibar. However, we scored the only goal of the game through Rodrigo de Paul to take the 3 points and give Barcelona their first loss. We did lose to Roma though, but we got ourselves another 2 league wins and we are scoring a good amount of goals in the process, putting us just 1 point behind Barcelona, still unbeaten in the league and top of our Champions League group through goal difference. And this is where it all went downhill. 2 0-0 draws to Villarreal and Roma, followed by a 1-0 loss to Elche in the league. We did win 3-0 against Celta Vigo, but all 3 goals were from corners scored by defenders. So I don't know what's happened to our scary front line. What has happened to Beto? He's only scored 6 goals in the league in 14 starts. However, he did show up in the Champions League, scoring 3 goals and a 7-0 win at home to Trabzonspor. But that isn't really a realistic competition for us to win this year. The League and Cup is, in my opinion. And we end November in 3rd behind Barcelona, who dropped more points, and new leaders Real Madrid, who are 4 points ahead with a game in hand and still unbeaten. In the Champions League, we are 1 point ahead of Dortmund in 2nd spot with them to play in the final game. A game in which they took the lead when Serda scored from a corner. But we bounced back when Rodrigo de Paul scored a lovely volley. Beto then turned provider, slotted in Carrasco, who found the far corner for the second, and late in the game we were pushed for a third, and that man Beto got his goal again, which capped off a brilliant December where we only got wins. But 2 games against Madrid next, who are still top. We have actually jumped above Barcelona though and closed the gap on Real Madrid, who if we beat, we overtake as well, giving them their first loss of the season. Champions League, we still finished 2nd in the group and will face Juventus in the first round knockouts, who are still managed by Pep Guardiola. Speaking of jobs, look what has just become available. The club that I support, Manchester United, with Wayne Rooney as their current favourite. They find themselves 7th and having a bad year, as well as Chelsea. Arsenal jumping straight back up after their 15th finish, only 7 points short of their total points last season, but with half the games played. Patrick Vieira steadying the ship here, I see. In Italy, Napoli are on top right now, champions Roma down to 4th. PSG are leading Ligue 1, with Monaco down in 10th surprisingly. And just in case you wanted to know, Bayern Munich are leading the Bundesliga, with Dortmund trailing by 7 points. Bayern side led by Real Madrid legend Zidane. And with that incredible transition, speaking of Real Madrid, we head to the Bernabeu, where Vinny Jr. gave Real Madrid the lead. We equalised when Carrasco volleyed in at the back post, but from kickoff, Real scored again. Once more, we equalised through Correa, but it wasn't to be, and Vinny Jr. scored the winner in the 87th minute. Another job appeared at Chelsea, and it was at this point I seriously considered applying for both of those Premier League jobs, knowing how difficult of a task it was to beat Real Madrid and Barcelona across 38 league games. But I decided against it, and I continued my job here at Atletico for now, where we put in a fantastic performance against Bilbao, scoring 4 goals without response, where at times we actually looked unplayable. We also defeated Oviedo in the Copa del Rey through Carrasco's goal. We did sell 2 defenders during January, however, and raised £18 million, but this was mainly because of our finances were looking a little bit ropey. January was an up and down month in all honesty, 2 cup wins but 2 league losses, 9 points behind Real and Betis in the quarters of the Copa del Rey, who we just lost to in the league. It took 2 late extra time goals from Beto and Llorente for us to dispatch Betis 4-2 and take us through to the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, a competition, of course, we still need to check off the Glory Hunter list, where we face Barcelona across 2 legs. The first we lost at the Camp Nou 3-2 with only 10 men when Rodrigo de Paul got himself sent off at the half-hour mark. Despite that, we were actually 2-0 up until the 63rd minute as well. Before we look at the league, it's Juve in the Champions League first leg. This fixture was played at home and Beto opened the scoring on the 30th minute. We were lucky to get a penalty on the stroke of half-time to make it 2-0, and Saul stepped up late to fire in a gorgeous free kick. 3-0 winners. You look at our fixtures here and you say that the least likely game for us to lose would have been Huesca, the game in which we actually lost 1-0 before that Juve win. After putting 4 goals past Granada, in which Beto scored 2, it was Copa del Rey second leg time. And with being a goal down, we needed to score, of course, which is exactly what Beto did at the start of the second half. But in the 92nd minute, a ball down the left was crossed in for Cunha to get the winner, sending us into the final 4-3 on aggregate, where it's Valencia who awaits us. Cunha also scored against Juve in that second leg in a 1-1 draw, meaning we head to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Our league form has suffered though because of these cup runs, and we lose another 2 games, including a 5-0 hammering at Barcelona, taking us way off the pace of Real Madrid, who is running away with it this year. We have drawn Inter Milan 2 in the Champions League quarterfinals, and they are currently still managed by Mancini, with Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez still at the club. And the first leg is at the Giuseppe Meazza, and it did not go to plan. We started strong in the second leg when Beto scored after 4 minutes, and we took the lead too when Rodrigo de Paul found space to score a beautiful goal. Inter Milan tied the leg in the second half, but Hannibal put us ahead with 15 minutes to play. But in the 95th minute, Luis Diaz scored, taking the game to extra time. But what hurt us even more was in the 120th +1 minute, Stefan Savic scored an own goal to eliminate us from the Champions League in heartbreaking fashion. And in fact, we couldn't buy a win in April, with 2 league losses heading into the Copa del Rey final. Gattuso is still the man in charge of Valencia, and they tended to have sold 1 big player per season to fund some smaller, smarter signings, which I'm actually quite impressed with. But let's see. We are missing Cunha and Jimenez from our starting 11, so that's some big losses for us. Let's just hope we don't fumble this trophy like Sergio Ramos did. But it was the unlikely name of Jeffrey Kondogbia who scored the only goal of the game in the 83rd minute, crowning us Copa del Rey champions. Another trophy we can now tick off the Glory Hunter list. And although our league hopes are almost dead, this is considered a very successful season in my eyes. Do I leave Atletico though? Because the gap between us and Real Madrid seems massive, and am I wasting some precious years trying to chase them? To put it into perspective, we just finished the season in 3rd place and 27 points behind Real Madrid, who actually finished 21 points ahead of Barcelona, only losing 1 game all season. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to leave for the sake of it, but what if a very interesting job came up elsewhere? What would you do? Would you leave or would you stay at Atletico Madrid? Because we only have £22 million to spend and improve this aging team. As you can see, the majority of our first team is in their 30s. And oh look, the Juventus job has just opened up.